but not really. It was fitted, and that was fun. But anyway,
The room was a Hawaiian dress, so.
but these,
Oh,
these were our uniforms. We wore one for a period of time, and then the other one for a period of time. But it was fun. It was
looks a
got
lot more
everybody in
comfortable.
the yeah.
Got in the mood,
people
too?
would walk on and were already dressed like we're in the islands. So
Yeah.
so that was fun. My uniform that I started out in was this little number here, the dreaded hat, and then this ended about right above my knee, and they gave us boots in the winter, but not the first winter I was in this uniform, and I remember I was I want to say Buffalo. I went to Buffalo, New York a lot, out of New York, but one of the really cold places, and it was roll up stairs, and they had ice and snow on them, and the waiting room, the terminal was all glass windows, and I fell from the top. I slipped on the ice, of course, fell all the way down to the bottom of the little roll up stairs in front of all the people. Fortunately, the only thing I did was ruin my nylons. I did not break anything, thank goodness. So that happened. And this one we called Wonder Bread because it looked like the
packaging.
wrapping
Yeah.
for the Wonder Bread thing. I did not wear this one because I was doing the Holomu thing. This one was my favorite, although I didn't wear it very much. It looked really nice.
Oh.
And
So were those fitted to you? Did you have to go
yes,
somewhere?
yeah, United. When we graduated, we were given, I think, 2 dresses, a coat, and a winter coat, that stupid hat, and a suitcase, and a purse, and we were all had to wear the same shoe, and I forget the name of the shoemaker, but our feet, we couldn't get shoes that actually fit us. I mean, they would be maybe the right size, but everybody's feet are so different.
Yeah.
But in that, I'm sure the years previous to me, but definitely with that uniform, we all had to wear the same shoe, just a different size of this same guy. And we all would complain, we had all the things, that happen when you have ill-fitting shoes. That, something. But they finally said as long as it's the right color and no embellishments, that kind of stuff, then you could get a shoe that actually fits you. And we have a shoe for in-flight, and they want us to wear heels in the airport. I'm long past that. I can't wear the cute shoes anymore. I'm the old lady shoes, but they have a bit of a heel. I don't have a separate shoe for on board the airplane. It's one that can work for both. But I see the young ones, oh, bless them, their skirts are really short, their heels are like this, and they look great. But I'm thinking, let me see you in a few years. Those, but anyway, yeah. So they give you uniforms, and then they give you a voucher to get it altered to suit you. But I love flying Shanghai. I flew it in LA before I transferred. One of the reasons I transferred was because we lost the Shanghai trip. What was happening then was we were in a merge with Continental, and the 787 had come out, and they wanted to put the 787 on the Shanghai route, and we were not yet qualified on it. Technically, the flight attendants hadn't merged. The pilots were, a lot of the operations and stuff were, but the flight attendant group had not merged. So they couldn't fly our aircraft, we couldn't fly theirs. So they had what they called a satellite base alongside LA and San Francisco, and the Continental people were in the satellite part of it. they had the 787, and they got my Shanghai trip. I don't fault them, but here's like a person with 5 years, and I have 45 years, and I am not flying the trip that I want, which was my impetus to go to San Francisco. But I did Shanghai for 2.5 years, because that's really all LA had. That was, LA would get a trip that was cool, and then we would just as soon lose it. And I, got really tired of that. And but Shanghai we got, and we had it for 2.5 years, and it was a 4-day trip. So we left, let's say on a Tuesday. We got there on a Wednesday night. We had all day Thursday night, our own time, and then we came back on Friday. And we left on Friday and arrived back on Friday. And on the free day, once I had seen everything that I was interested in Shanghai, then I made good use of their fast trains. And I would tell everybody, I'm going to go see this on the layover. Anybody that wants to come, is welcome. But for the most part, a lot of people did the shopping, which is fine. And people who weren't senior enough to hold the trip, it might be their only Shanghai, so they're going to do the shopping. And but sometimes I would have people go with me. And what I would do is I'd take a sheet of paper, I would write some phrases. I would say, take me to this museum, or help me catch a cab, or I'd like to go to this restaurant or something. And then I would have the concierge at my hotel write in Chinese right under it. So I would just fold over and then show what I needed, because as you left Shanghai, less people spoke English. And so I went to places that would have taken all day a regular train, or certainly a bus, and I didn't have time for that. So I would get up early, go to the train station. They have a fabulous train system. The train tickets were really inexpensive, and I'd be there in an hour and a half. I went to a place that was called Suzhou, the Venice of the East. It was all canals. Hangzhou had some lakes, beautiful scenery, some incredible shrines. I went to Nanjing, and I went there primarily to see the Museum of Intolerance. The Japanese took over Nanjing. Nanjing was the capital at that time, and there was just widespread slaughter. And there is a museum there, all about that. And one young woman who wrote a book about it, which I read with a lot of Kleenex, she committed suicide after she wrote her book. And she's Chinese, but she had to go through it. Anyway, just tremendous atrocities. But I wanted to go and bear witness. So here I am in line for it, and I'm crying already, because they have these incredible statues of torment, human agony. And so I'm standing in line getting into the place, and I'm already crying. So I knew I was in trouble. But I needed to see it, and I'm glad I did. But I would just, fold over. And my fail-safe thing was I would find out what was the biggest hotel in the city, because I knew they would have a concierge that would speak English. And so that was, if everything went to hell, I was going to be able to go to that hotel and get whatever problem solved. And I've never had to do that in any other country, but in Asian countries, I can not figure out anything. So I have Google Translate on my phone and all that stuff, but I had my system, and it worked really well. And I always made it back for pickup. But I did get to see an awful lot of wonderful things that wouldn't have been available if it hadn't been for the fast train. I still love Shanghai. And getting back to the uniforms, the tailors, when we come in to our hotel, there's tailors, there's manicure people, there's facial people, massage people. They all meet us at the hotel in the lobby, and you can sign up with what you want, and they'll come to your room, or you can make appointments for the next day, or just whatever you want. There's now a young lady. She goes by JoJo, of course. That's not her real name, but she has been able to have a spa, a whole beauty salon thing because of the flight attendant business over the years. And she'll always be in the lobby, and I have a favorite guy, like for the massages, and the tailor. I know she's going to be in the. It's my cat, obviously, but he cries like that. But they're all there, and so you can make arrangements with them for either that night or for the next day or the next night. And it's gotten to be now where they're making their appointments online before we even get there, the flight attendants that do it often. Yeah. But so I have found that it's so much easier and a lot cheaper that the tailor comes up to my room, he does the pinning, everything, and my uniform is altered and it's ready for me to take home the next day. So I do that, and I've gone through all my closets and all my clothes, gotten rid of things that I don't like or didn't fit me right, but the ones that I liked but didn't quite fit right, I've taken them over to Shanghai over the years and got them fitted to me. And it's just so easy, and it's done before you come back home. And anyway, so you're given these uniforms. We're getting ready to get into another one sometime later this spring. I hate it, but you're going to wear what they give you. And I've already gotten them altered for when they do start them. But, like I say, you just wear what...
do they give you multiple uniforms?
Yeah, they give us a set of stuff. Most people wear... most women wear... there's a skirt, blouses, jackets, pants. The fellas, of course, have their set of stuff, but the women also have a dress or one or two styles. And I've been wearing the dress for years. It's a lot simpler for me, less to carry and less to worry about. That's all I wear. And they give you the winter coats, things like that. So we've got all of it. They haven't set a date to start wearing it. It can be never, as far as I'm concerned. It's just Brooks Brothers designed it, and but the fabrics are weird. I don't know. Like I say, I'll wear it. I have to when it comes up. But we've been, I think, maybe 5 or 6 uniforms in the time I have been flying. We were supposed to start this uniform right when COVID hit, and so they put everything off, of course. So I got a 4-year reprieve because of COVID. That's the only good thing I could see of that. But anyway, so let's get to the worst thing that's ever happened. I had traded, a woman asked me for a trade. We can do that. Let me back up. There's fabulous flexibility in this job, and that's one of the greatest things ever. I could not fly for 6 months as long as I paid my union dues and paid my medical insurance. Nobody'd care as long as somebody shows up for that flight. So I could give all my trips away, which we have a trading and a dropping thing that all through the computer, texts or whatever, and you can trade a trip. If you need a certain day off and you didn't get it, you can ask somebody for a trade. You can give up your trip. People who like to get more hours, I just fly my schedule. That's enough for me. But the younger ones who aren't getting paid as much, they will pick up a lot of trips. So if they have days off, they will try to pick up something and add to their paycheck. So there's tremendous flexibility. So somebody, one of my friends had asked me for a trade. We were both flying Narita, Japan. And I think my trip was earlier. Yes, my trip was earlier, like maybe 2 days earlier. And she asked if I would take hers. And 2 days later, and I said, sure. So I was coming back from Narita when 9/11 happened. Our pilots, we were on a 747, our pilots did not tell us anything that was going on. But everything changed. We knew something. We had no idea, and we never could have imagined that anyway. But we knew something was wrong. They were very secretive, and they locked the cockpit door. Apparently, they never went to the bathroom again, or but we never opened the cockpit door again, and we were told to watch out for anything suspicious, and that was all we got from that. And I was aft purser, and our chief purser, we talked about it, and we thought, well, we just make sure we all just talk to the flight attendants, just keep an eye out. We don't know for what, but something's going on. Well, the next thing we knew, we landed, but we were not in LA, we were in Vancouver. I didn't even know it was Vancouver. I knew it wasn't LA. And at that time, when we landed and stopped, and I look out the window and I see, obviously, a very different airport, and the pilots come on and they say, there's been an attack, and I forget what they said. And people were, we must have had phones, because I know I'm sure we had phones, but now I can't remember. That was how many years ago? 25? I can't remember.
Yeah,
because people were finding things out.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't have a phone, maybe. But in any case, and people started screaming and crying and exclaiming. And so we found out when the passengers did. And we didn't see a lot of what was being broadcast, because we had to deal with where we were and what we were doing. And so what I remember was, fortunately, we landed in the early morning. And so we were one of the first bunch of airplanes. When we were finally allowed off, police came, everybody was searched, and we went off one by one. They were in the jetway. The police were in the jetway. And he went off one by one. Of course, crew was last. And United, the other good thing about being near the first was to get a place to stay. And so United had it was one of those extended stay places. So it was like an apartment, really. And, but as I was walking up a set of stairs to get outside, I looked back and all I could see were airplanes, just noses and tails and wings for as far as I could see. And those people were on those planes for hours because nobody could get off. They all had to be searched. And crew, fortunately, we have our luggage with us 99% of the time. And so we had our stuff, but I don't even know how they got that all done, because we were among the first 10. And so we went to this place, and we were all just so shocked. And of course, we're looking at TV now, and we were horrified. And I think we all experienced it, certainly similarity because of the work that we were in, but different ways emotionally. My mother had died less than a year before, and I was still in mourning for my mother. And one of my friends, one of the women that was here at the party, she quit that day. She was at home and never flew another trip. Called United and said, I'm retiring. Some stayed home for extended periods of time. Now, I had my own schedule had me flying 3 days later. And I thought that if I didn't go back, I wouldn't go back. That if I didn't do it, I could very well see me not going back. So, in Vancouver, we were there for, was it 2 or 3 days?
At least.
And I wasn't able to leave the hotel room, really. It was just too sad. I couldn't. Now, I know some of my flying partners, they asked me if they were going to go out, which I think that was great. I wish I could have, but I couldn't. And so I just stayed in my room, and I don't remember what I did. But in any case, when it was time to go back, it was just going to be the crew, no passengers. And they took everything, you know, I had things, you know, a can opener, you know, different things for the job. They took all of that. And I remember one of the pilots, one of the first officers, most of the pilots are military, not so much anymore. People are learning how to fly privately, starting with regionals, smaller, you know, maybe private, not commuter, private work, and then maybe going to a commuter airline and then going up to the big airlines. But in those days, most everybody was military, and we'd had the Iraq thing and Kuwait and whatnot. Anyway, one of the first officers had been in the military, and I remember him saying he was confident it was Saddam Hussein, confident. And I remember thinking, I don't know why that would be. We didn't know much yet, you know, it wasn't like all exposed that we had every answer anyway, but he was already saying that we were going to be going to war in Iraq. So even then, I remember him saying that. It was very somber going home, and then when we got there, we were the first plane to land in LA, and it was like in a time of war. There was so many military and police that I wouldn't have been able to give you an estimate of how many. No passengers anywhere. And we were met by members of the union to see how we were. And I remember one of them was the woman who asked me to trade. And I said, I'm never trading with you again, Darby. And it was just gallows humor, you know, it was just, we just, shock doesn't even begin to come up to it, because every one of us, because I talk to a lot of people, but in my own heart, we had always been taught that when someone's wants to hijack you, you comply. So every one of us could put ourselves in the uniform of every one of those flight attendants. That it was 2 United flights too. I did not know anybody on those planes. But we all knew what our training was. So until the last plane, which was United's, where the passengers heard enough. So yeah, we did have cell phones because they knew, okay, that they took a stand and probably saved the Pentagon, or some, no, I guess it would have been probably the White House or the Capitol. Everybody else just did what they were told to do. So all of those flight attendants died within seconds. And of course the pilots did as well. And so the terror of flying now, it's not going to be a drunken, disorderly passenger. You know, it's not going to be a fight amongst passengers over armrest space. All of a sudden, we always, when you are on an airplane taking off and landing, you know, you always know that you could crash, and maybe you'll live, maybe you won't. But this was something that none of us had ever thought of, and there was no reason to. And so our world changed, certainly our job changed. But we were all I'll speak just for myself right now. I just thought you were doing your job, doing what you were supposed to be doing, and that happened. And then your plane is responsible for the death of so many others. And trying to wrap my head around that was nearly impossible. So it took United some time to figure what our new training would be. And it took time for things to change with security. Some things started right away, of course, but security procedures, cockpit door procedures for getting into the cockpit, all that took time. So like I say, I went back to work 3 days after I got home. Now, there were very few passengers, very few. And we had our little ribbons, and the union came up with some things that had the United flight numbers and the American flight numbers, and if passengers talked to us, it was only about that. Everybody was scared shitless. But like I say, the flights went, but I'm sure they cut flights, but anyway, my flight went back to Japan. And but there were so few passengers on board. And we just were like going through the motions, and we had our jobs to do, service and stuff, but we were just shell-shocked by it. So I kind of think that we lost that flight, because I remember I flew some Hawaii stuff, and I wouldn't have if Japan was still flying. So I think that the flights were just cut so badly, that they reduced so much because we didn't have passengers to support the operation. Because I remember I was purser on one of the first flights I did was Hawaii. I forget if it was Maui, that doesn't matter. And somebody starts ringing their call button. And I'm up at the front when the flight attendant comes to get me. I need to go talk to this these people. And what it was they were looking across the cabin to somebody who looked to them Middle Eastern. So they're saying to me, you have to take those people off, or that man, or that group. I don't want them. I don't trust them. And inside I'm thinking, I know more about the world than that. But as purser, I had to calm them, but then not feel I'm making the wrong decision either. I have to say, in all honesty, I didn't think that the calls I were making were wrong, that these people did not give me any feelings. It was more the pressure of it, no guidance from United, nativism and fear from the passengers, which was real, and that everybody to them looked like a terrorist. And so it took a long time. United came out with, I don't remember how long it took, and whereas things never got back to normal really, there was a sense of routine again. I can't remember how long it took. But for me personally, it didn't go away at all. And so in those days, I was driving myself to work, taking my little Camaro on the road and hot running it up there and parking in the employee parking lot, going to work, no problem. But I would start having stomach aches, getting sick to my stomach the day before a trip. And then I would get in my car, and all I would do is cry on the way up. But once I got into the terminal, I was fine. I could handle it. So my wonderful husband started taking me to work to eliminate the time alone on the freeway and just taking me right up to the terminal, going inside, and I'm not crying inside. So that's how that and a lot of therapy, quite frankly. But the two of those things got me okay. And I never stopped going to work. I didn't take any time off, but I did. I had a wonderful therapist and a wonderful husband. And I got through that time. But it's hard. I don't fly on 9/11. I don't watch anything. I don't have any need to remind myself. It's all still there. I am grateful for the training. We have self-defense training now, whole set of things, how we would involve passengers. The passengers would be more ready now too. We all have learned a lot. Our procedures are much different, and whereas I'm not saying that nothing will ever happen of anything. I have no idea. Takeoffs or landings, anything. Passenger, just a simple, regular run-of-the-mill bad passenger. That's, who knows. But I do feel that that I'm not going to quit over it. That won't be it. And we are requalified. Used to be once every year. Now it's once every 18 months. And when your date comes up, on the West Coast, we go to San Francisco, and it's a full day of training. Everything is covered. fire extinguishers, rafts, land evacs, water evacs, heart attacks, and security stuff. And and then throughout the year, we do computer-based training and go over a lot of that same stuff too. So I still, it's always there. My therapist said something about that I had PTSD, even though I wasn't there. And maybe that's true, maybe that's not. But all I know is it was transforming. And, but again, not something I'm going to quit over. I just was hard as hell. I have a picture of my crew that I was with, that we took in the Vancouver airport. And some of them are still flying. A lot have retired. But it means a lot for me to see them. And she was at the party. None of the rest. But this was my purser, and this is me, and I was aft purser. And I've seen this fella once or twice. He was based in Narita, actually, in Japan. And I think Fuji is still flying, but most all of these ladies have retired. But it was, a really impactful time, and it remains that way. I think that it's something where we just had no idea that something like that could happen, and to 4 airplanes, and to all the lives lost, and then we got into wars, and all the things that happened after that. It's just something that upended so many lives in ways large and small. So anyway, that's what happened. But I flew with somebody not too long ago. I hadn't met her before, on a flight to Rome, and she was based in Newark at the time, and she knew people on one of the Newark flights, or one of the 4 planes, and she and I, we were standing in the back galley, and we just started talking to each other, and before a heartbeat, we were both crying, and but we hugged each other and stuff. But so it'll come at me. That's why I don't watch anything, because it's just, the horror of it is just more than I can handle. Yeah. that I wanna think about. So instead, I think about places I'm going, the people I'm talking with, the crew that I'm flying with, my responsibilities as the purser, the fun I'm having, the friendships I'm making, the problems I'm solving, and I don't let my mind wander too much to the what ifs. It's there because, of course, the security that we have in place, and when I do my briefing to my crews, I always stress safety. That's the first thing that I talk about, not the service. And in fact, I really don't talk about the service that much. They all know what they're doing. And if they're not, I'm going to hear about it. So that's for later. But, I'd say pay attention. Just one of the things from Jack Reacher is, I have to think a minute to get it back in my mind. You prepare for the worst, or hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And that's what I tell them. And I say it's from if there's any Jack Reacher fans. But that's my philosophy, that, hope nothing's going to go wrong, but anything could. For the most part, it's a very fun job, very rewarding, enriching, just a fabulous way of life to my mind. Unless I'm independently wealthy, I never would have been able to go any of these places. I've been on a photographic safari in Kenya. I've seen some things there that were just amazing in the animal world. I've been to castles all over the place, temples. I've eaten all kinds of food, met all kinds of people, just done incredible things that I never would have if I had stayed in San Bernardino, first of all. But so it's a life that I think has just been a hell of a ride. But it can go south. A flight can go south if we're not paying attention, and it can just be something that's not simple, but a passenger illness. So I tell my flight attendants, if we're not the first to know, let's not be the last, and just keep all your senses going, be out in the aisle, because you never know what's going to happen. And that's the beauty of it, and that's the awful of it too. You never know. My biggest fear after some homicidal person is a fire. And so, these things, I want my flight attendants, when they're not on break, they're on duty, and to pay attention to what's going on in our cabin, and then tell everybody else. So, so far, so good. So I think that's really all. I think, there's experiences, but I don't want to, bore you. I mean, I could go on for a long time just with the things I've gotten to see and do, but I think it's in my explanation of being a flight attendant. Even when I commute, and usually what goes up to and from San Francisco are Boeing 737s, and there's extra jump seats in the back. And so I'll sit with a lot of young people. The two flight attendants that are assigned back there are usually, it's a very, it's not a senior trip at all. So I meet a lot of young people, and they want to talk to me about, maybe they have 6 months or a year or 2 years, and I get on with this gray hair and the and wrinkles, and they want to know, why am I still doing it? And I want to know from them, how do they like it? What do they think about it so far? And I've had flight attendants talk to me that they're thinking about quitting, and it's very hard at first. The pay is low, and reserve is brutal, and we're in the midst of contract negotiations, sort of. I mean, we've been without a new contract for 4 years, so that's upsetting, of course, a lot of people, and the company's trying to take things away from us. So, lots going on right now. But for the most part, they're very excited, and I hope they keep that excitement. One of the horrible things that happened after 9/11 was United went bankrupt, and so management convinced the bankruptcy judge to take away our pensions. So we lost our pensions, and we had to give up a ton of stuff that we had fought for. And but we were also scared to death of actually not having a job at all, and they did nothing to disabuse us of that notion. That we accepted a 10-year shitty contract, and we lost a lot of financial security, job security. The work rules got worse. We lost a lot, and had to suffer with that for 10 years while management got golden parachute. So those kinds of things happened too. So all of that went together for a very, very bad time. And, but, we'll eventually get a contract. I don't know. Trump is very anti-union, so I don't know what's going to happen. But I listen to the young people, and I tell them, don't make any rash moves. Don't. If you need to take some time off, do that. Don't quit, because you'll likely regret it. Because I know quite a few people over the years who have second jobs, second careers that they do in tandem because you have so much time off. My Shanghai trips are 4-day trips, but Rome is a 3-day trip. So I fly 3 Romes, that's 9 days gone out of 30 or 31. Shanghai's 12 out of 30 or 31. So, you have a lot of extra time that you could do something else, and I know a lot of people that do, and the ability to take time off is key. But I know people who have whole other businesses that they manage with their phone while they're gone, and so anyway, I give them encouragement if they need it, but it's fun to talk with the young ones and what they think of the job. And when I tell them that we used to have to room with another flight attendant, they're just horrified. They go, "Oh, it's like they've seen a ghost." What? I can't do that. They, layovers, the only layovers they've known, one told me, she said, "I live with my parents. I can't afford my own apartment yet. I get away. That's my time." And they couldn't even imagine having to room with somebody else. And then when I tell them that, that took a while, but, we don't have to anymore. And there were a lot of parents, a lot of flight attendants that married pilots, flight attendants that married other flight attendants, or just got married to, their boyfriends or girlfriends, and they have raised children. And their schedules allow them, somebody's home when somebody's working, and, stuff. So it's been a job that you can do a lot on your own time and still fly a full schedule. And so it's been something where the flexibility has always been there, and the ability to do whatever you might want to do. Some really take advantage of their flying privileges and have been to more places than I can even imagine. Others, not so much. Others, there's this one fellow that I meet from time to time, because he just does the L.A. San Francisco. His wife is a flight attendant, and she flies international, but he won't go farther east than Denver. He says, I'm not that kind. I don't do that. And we laugh about it, But everybody can do what they want. Some people want to be home every night. They fly turns. And some people will not fly out of the United States, have no interest in doing that. And that's fine. There's something for them. Others like, long hauls. Others like short hauls, there's language qualified, so they're on the they'll be my language flight attendants for these different international trips. So there's something for everybody, and I think that's been the beauty of it too. There's everybody can find their spot, and so we're quite a group. We're all different nationalities, all different education things, experience and stuff. It's amazing.
It sounds like it, yeah.
So if you don't have any questions about anything, I think that's pretty much it.
I just want to know about your Camaro.
Oh, the Camaro. Yeah, that is just.
One thing I think you might tell him is, after your hips stuff, and you were out of work for so long, and when you went back, and the first time you were back in the terminal.
Oh yeah,
how you felt.
I got tears in my eyes. I was off for a little over 2 years. I had a perfectly fine hip replacement of my left hip, but then I had gone back to work, and then I was coming home from London, and I started feeling ill, like I thought maybe I had a bad cold or a flu, But by the time I got home, I was really sick, high fever and stuff, and it turned out to be a bacterial pneumonia. And they think, and so anyway, I got treated for that, but then all of a sudden I had so much pain I couldn't walk, and they think that I ingested when I was coughing, that I ingested the bacteria, and the hip replacement was so new, there was no skin that had grown over, no tissue that had grown over, not skin, tissue. And so it got infected. And with that, they have to take the hip out, and you don't have a hip, you don't have a joint for, well, first they have to kill the infection, so they put the inside of your leg is full of antibiotics, and then you get, I had a PICC line in my chest, and 24-hour a day for 8 weeks antibiotics to kill it. And it's very scary because they don't always get rid of the thing. And then you have to get the hip replaced again. And I got anemia from the antibiotics, so then that delayed getting the new hip. Then I got a blood clot from laying there in the hospital bed in this living room with Michael on the couch next to me for 10 months in the hospital bed. And then, so then when the blood clot, we finally got rid of that, then I could have the new hip. And after all that time being gone, a little over 2 years, could I do it? Because in the meantime, we had fully merged with Continental. So we were flying airplanes. They had retired my lovely 47, and I wasn't going to see it anymore. New computer system, we were going to use Continentals. Merging 2 work groups, it wasn't a buyout, it was a merger of equals, so everybody, the junior ones, United was a more senior work group, so we merged the 2 systems, so people who had felt kind of senior get knocked way down. So there was a lot of, and on Continental we did it this way, well on United we did it this way, and fortunately I missed a lot of that, but came back to everything being brand new to me, the galleys, everything. I was even brand new. I had a new hip, and I remember I got into the terminal and I got tears in my eyes. I thought, this is where I belong. I'm back. And I had my flight attendants when I was going to Munich, and I had my flight attendants take a picture of me at my jump seat, standing up next to my jump seat. The purser sits at one left, and I remember the Facebook post that I was back at one left where I belong.
Aww.
And I was so happy. It was such a triumph physically, and then mentally too. Because I didn't know anything about what was going on, but I did it, and I was so proud but so happy to be back where I knew I belonged, and so yeah, that was a really good feeling.
Yeah, I always remember you telling me that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where you wanted to be.
That's where I wanted to be. Yeah, and I have tremendous back pain a lot. I've had a bunch of back surgeries, and I've grown shorter, as time does to women, and so getting requalified is not as easy as it used to be. And I went last October, and I work out with a trainer 3 times a week. The fella right below Broadway and Belmont, and to come back from these injuries and things like that, but also to stay as healthy and as fit as I can for the job and just basic good sense. And so we were working extra hard for this one, for a 737 door. It doesn't have a power assist, so when you crank the handle, the newer planes, there's a power thing that the door just flies open, and you don't have to do much, but the 737, you have to put a lot of upper body strength into pushing it open. So I was worried about that door. And that wasn't the one that was tough. It was the 767 that is in the ceiling. So we not only have, in training, we not only have to be proficient opening and closing the doors, opening the doors in emergency mode, but also opening and closing in non-emergency mode. So here I am, little short Laura, and we're in small groups. I was just with one other flight attendant, and she's Asian, so she was also on the short side. So it was my turn first, and you pick it up, you crank a handle, and it comes up off the threshold about this much, and then there's handholds, and you have to lift it up, and it has sort of a glide thing, but not the back part, not to get it to click, to latch. I was stretching. I was stretching as tall as I possibly could, and then my instructor's going, "Come on, Laura, you can do it. Bring it home, Laura. Come on." and then I had to bring it down, and same thing, just by my fingernails, bringing that sucker down. And so I think next time when I go again, I'm going to wear those new tennis shoes that put you up, because that's only going to get worse. So there are challenges to that, and I need to have a back surgery. But if I do, it will be the end of my career, because they have to put a rod in my back to straighten me up, and I won't be able to bend or twist, and you do that all the time.
Wow.
So I'm trying to decide, do I want to even go through another back surgery? Because it's 6 months to a year of recuperation, even if I don't go back to flying. And so I'm trying to decide if I should do it, not do it, when is the time for me to retire, and maybe it will be if I can't pass recurrent training, get recertified. But we have to, get down on your knees and do CPR on one of those dummies, and your breath has to be, the dummies have a light that you can't just do it. It has to make the light go off, that the breaths are getting deep enough. So there's a lot there that's physical just to get requalified each year. Yeah. And so maybe that will be what makes me have to quit, but we'll see. It's not in the cards just yet, but we'll see.
Yeah. So. All right, my last question to you would be, what would you give a younger person life advice? So what kind of life advice would you give a younger person having a hard time trying to figure out their next move, or when they're feeling down or lost?
And not just a flight attendant, anybody at all.
Yeah,
anybody
just in
at
general.
all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see. I would ask them, what are they good at? What do they love? What if it was a perfect world and they could do whatever they wanted, what would they choose? And if they didn't have the skills to do that, then I would say, well, that's your first step, because you should be able to do what you want to do. So I would say to first look inside, look to see what makes you happy. Working, you have to plan on working for a long time. So it really should be something that gives you joy in some way. It can't be your everything, maybe, but there has to be something there for you to make you want to get up every day and do it, and not think that your life is been kind of wasted if you didn't go after something that you really would have more enjoyed, or at least something that you wanted to do, that you had an interest in. And then I would say that important to know yourself really well, and a lot of that comes with experience and age as you go through experiences. But that to always listen to yourself, and to things are not always going to go your way. You may have a terrible day, but it's not you may really screw up at something, but that it's not a failure unless you don't learn anything from it. If you learn something from it, then it's a success. And look for the good in people. There are a lot of good people in this world. If there, of course, are introverts that don't really wish to interact that much, but there's things that they could even be doing that could be helpful to other people. But that, first of all, just to find something that you really are interested in, that you think you could either make a difference or it could make a difference for you. Money's not everything. It's important, but it's not everything. Look for something with good insurance. I tell the younger ones, I say, don't quit. Get a side gig, do something, or take some time off. But we have the best insurance through our union. We have one of the best insurance that you can get. I said, you're young, you might not think that you're going to get sick, but you could get hit by a car. You could be in an accident. Anything could happen to you. So insurance is really important. We have a good 401k thing, that kind of stuff. So if it's a flight attendant that's thinking about quitting, then I say there are a lot of good things here, and it does get better as you get more senior. To a young person who just doesn't know, I'd say just give yourself a lot of time to think about what's important to you. If you have to write it down, I like making lists, what's good about something, what's bad about something, and then going with the one that's got the most and making that kinds of decisions. But I think in my first marriage, I didn't know myself that well. And I don't consider it a failure because I did learn from it, and I'm still very close friends with my first husband. He went on to marry, and he wanted to be a father, so he has 3 children. He's a wonderful husband, or not a husband, he's divorced, but a wonderful father. And we have many of the same friends since we were going together in high school. So I'm glad that that's the case, but you never know what's going to happen in your life, and you may need to be self-sufficient and supporting yourself for a very long time. And things happen. Spouses can die, so find something that you enjoy. Figure out what makes you happy, and that might be many things, and go for that, so that it'll be something you'll want to do, because you may have to do it for a long, long time. But you wanna be happy. Other religions, think about other lives. I only know about this one, and I want to make this one the best I can. So every day, I do have my friends. I like to make friends. I like to keep friends. They're all valuable to me. Their experience, a passenger's experience, something they can teach me, it's all very valuable to me. It enriches my life. So for me, being out in the world is important. Others, it might not be, but you can still get to know your fellow humans. And I would also, of course, encourage them to be good citizens and vote and be knowledgeable about who's running and what they stand for, because you can have people deciding your life for you that you didn't want in there. Or if you didn't vote, then you're letting anybody in. So I think those kinds of things. I do volunteer work with my high school in San Bernardino. I help with their scholarship program. My class, we started a scholarship, and I started it, it's been about 30 years now. And every year we give a scholarship out to a senior boy and a senior girl. And I'm very involved in that, but I help them with their, I do mock scholarship interviews. So I go up in January for a few days, and all the kids that are, there's many volunteers that do this, but all the kids that want scholarships, they come before us, and they have questions they've been given, and then we see the questions, and so we don't want to trip them up. We want to help them. So we're not trying to make them screw up. We want to, so we're not tricking them with questions they've never heard of, but just the idea of getting them comfortable to do well in an interview. And then I participate in the Scholarship Awards Assembly in May. And they'll say, I always ask at the end of the session, do you have anything that you'd like to ask me? And we've been asking you questions. What would you like to ask us? And sometimes, the kids that are in San Bernardino now, it's a lot of hard times. We lost all of our really good industry up there pretty much right after I left, and the city has fallen on really hard times, and it's a very poor city, and the kids have gone through incredible hardships and are still doing that. So I always drive home crying, but inspired. But what usually they ask me is what, and it's a variation of kind of how to be happy, how to find joy. Other things are, a lot of times we'll get, how do you ace a job interview? They're worried about supporting themselves and family members and stuff. They're working, usually the fast food stuff for when they're going to school, but in their careers and stuff, how to make yourself be the one that they choose. And I said, it's very much, I tell them the same thing, know yourself, and practice the interviews. I tell them to get in front of the mirror and practice with your family so that you know what you want to say. I said, it's all in you, what a good person you are, what your talents are, where your strong points are, where your weak points are. But you have to be able to be comfortable to tell the one who's interviewing. So knowing yourself to me is key. And sometimes, we let others tell us who we are, and that shouldn't define us. We should define ourselves. So I think that would be my advice.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you, Alfonso.
Yeah.
A little nerve-wracking, but not as bad as I thought.
See? Thank you guys for taking the time. It's been an honor. It's been amazing. And I'm so excited to put this up and share it with everyone.